बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। अस्सलाम वालेकुम नाज़रीन, थर्ड एंगल के एक स्पेशल एपिसोड में आप लोगों को खुशामदीद। मेरा नाम है K1 हामिद। नाज़रीन, आज का जो थर्ड एंगल का एपिसोड है ये होगा एक बड़ा मल्टीलिंगुअल किस्म का एपिसोड। इसके अंदर हमारे साथ स्टूडियो के अंदर थर्ड एंगल प्रेजेंट करने के लिए जो तीसरे शख्स मौजूद होंगे उनको हम इंट्रोड्यूस तो करवाएंगे थोड़ी देर बाद, लेकिन आज के प्रोग्राम के अंदर जैसे कि नाज़रीन आप लोग देख रहे हैं कि हम सिर्फ K2 टेलीविज़न पर मौजूद नहीं हैं, हम खैबर न्यूज़ पे भी हैं, क्योंकि एक बहुत एक्सक्लूसिव प्रोग्राम, बहुत स्पेशल प्रोग्राम है। उस प्रोग्राम के अंदर जो सारी गुफ्तगू होगी वो पाकिस्तान के मुख्तलिफ इलाकों में बैठे हुए जो लोग हैं, जो KP में भी आते हैं, जो पश्तो स्पीकिंग लोग भी हैं, और जो हमारे K2 के अपने इलाके हैं, जो गिलगित से लेके ग्वादर तक जाते हैं, उन सारे लोगों को इस पर्टिकुलर प्रोग्राम के टॉपिक्स पे और इस प्रोग्राम के अंदर जो भी गुफ्तगू होगी उस सब से बहुत ज़्यादा इंटरेस्ट भी होगा। प्रोग्राम में मैं होस्ट अकेला नहीं कर रहा, मेरे साथ मौजूद हैं सुमेरा खान। अस्सलाम वालेकुम सुमेरा।
वालेकुम अस्सलाम केवान।
सुमेरा, आई बिलीव जो आपकी ऑडियंस और जो व्यूअरशिप होगी वो आज खैबर न्यूज़ की होगी, इसलिए आप खैबर न्यूज़ का ही मगा लेके बैठी हुई हैं।
जी बिल्कुल, एंड आई वुड लाइक टू एड्रेस माय कम्युनिटी इन
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल।
आई विल स्टार्ट विद दैट। कतन कुलन प्रोग्राम थर्ड एंगल अगे के तासर जमुगा मुलाकात की केवान और मुंगा हाजिर थर्ड एंगल प्रोग्राम के तासु बदा प्रोग्राम नन अवल जले K2 मने और पैरेलल बतासो खैबर न्यूज़ मने हम गोरे और नन ब प्रोग्राम के जमुगा चिकम वली मुंगा दा इकदामात नन पर खुसूसी तोगा कर दी आगा ब केवान लक्सात पूरे बतासो पल चे गेस्ट इंट्रोड्यूस कई तासर बतारुफ कई नो यकीनन बतासो पोया शेचिदा खुसूसी परवने द थर्ड एंगल पर शेप की मुंगा तास्ता वाली रावड़ी थी। जी केवान, ओवर टू यू।
जी नाज़रीन, मूविंग ऑन विद द प्रोग्राम। अब काफ़ी गुफ्तगू इस प्रोग्राम में ऑब्वियसली अंग्रेज़ी ज़ुबान में होगी, लेकिन हम कोशिश करेंगे कि नीचे सबटाइटल्स के ज़रिए सारी चीज़ें आपके साथ शेयर की जाए आप ही की मादरी ज़ुबान के अंदर। लेकिन आज नाज़रीन हमारे साथ जो मौजूद हैं खुसूसी मेहमान, उनको हम इंट्रोड्यूस करवाते हुए चलें। द जर्मन एम्बेसडर टू पाकिस्तान मिस्टर मार्टिन कॉबलर हमारे साथ मौजूद हैं। वेलकम टू AVT चैनल्स, वेयर हाइसन डिश विल कम। Did I do that right? First, yes, thank you so much for being on our studios, being in our studios, being on our channels. Right now you're being watched in 2 channels which has a large populace of communities from different parts of the country and abroad, of course. So we will be addressing to a lot of issues and problems and daily life routine of those people. So I can guarantee that a very versatile audience and viewership will be engaged with this particular program. So Mr. Martin Kobler, first things first, let's make it personal so that people can relate with the program. You're very popular on social media. A lot of people follow you on your Twitter and all your other accounts as well. And all these activities that you present on your social media accounts and everything, the first question that arises, I mean, before you, any diplomat that has visited this country, any ambassador who is representing this their country over here, they've not been this active on a personal level. They've never kept such a casual profile and such an interactive profile before. So is this particular thing your own personal thing, or is this something from your country? Is this a policy from your government, or is this just something that is associated to Mr. Martin Kobler?
Well, I think it's my personal note, so to say, because I cannot understand a country if I do not travel in the country.
Indeed, indeed.
And that's why I try to outreach as much as possible, also to rural areas, in order to talk to Pakistanis.
Yep.
So to sit in Islamabad, in the very nice atmosphere of Islamabad where we're working, is very important.
Indeed.
Because our task is to liaise with your politicians, be it government, be it opposition. But it's also important to go out. Now, we cannot go out as much as possible because I divide up my time, half time here, half time out.
Okay.
And that's why social media are so important, that I communicate to the others what I'm doing. So that's more a personal kind of approach to my post here.
All right, that personal approach that you obviously opted for over here, you obviously get a bit of a feedback, a negative feedback as well. I would say a lashback on a lot of things as well. And there are things which have the best of intentions from your side, but some or the other, there are a lot of people who don't take it too well. So how do you react to that, and how do you take that all, and work accordingly in the future?
Well, most of the topics I get positive feedback.
All right.
Wherever I am, you see, I meet young people in particular, because Twitter is my main medium, and these are majority young people who recognize me, and then we enter into discussion about their problems. Now, I try to promote a positive image of Pakistan because I'm convinced that the perception of Pakistan abroad, this is grossly unfair and grossly unjust.
True.
Now, this is the main basis of my private editorial line, so to say. On the other side, I mean, as in Germany, as in any other country, and also in Pakistan, not everything is okay. Yes, there is corruption. Yes, there are environmental problems.
The good people and bad people both? Yeah.
Yes, there are good people and bad people, but most of them are, of course, good people.
Definitely.
But there are things which have to be improved.
Yeah.
Now, my hobby here in the country is youth, youth education. And that the country only spends, let's say, 2.4% of their gross domestic product on education is just not good enough.
Not.
So, and this is a problem which is not only related to Pakistan, it affects the region, it affects the world. It is migration. I mean, many of your viewers are probably in the Gulf.
Indeed.
So they are there.
Yeah.
Now, whenever I go to the Gulf, I see many Pakistanis, but they are mainly in the areas of cleaning, construction, and so on.
Labor-oriented, yes.
When I go to the hotels, then I see others, then I see even Africans.
Yeah.
And the root is here. So the better the education is in Pakistan, the better jobs they get in the Gulf,
Yeah,
the
opportunities
more money
obviously
they
not.
can send back.
Yeah.
Now, you see, this is just one of the examples. With all sympathy for the country, I think it's also important to for our bilateral cooperation to point to things which should be improved, like environmental questions. And here I'm totally in agreement also with your new government, which puts the environmental question very high up on the
Is that by coincidence, or maybe they're just checking on to your account a bit too much?
Well, you see, I met the now Prime Minister Imran Khan a few months ago, when he was still before the election campaign, and we discussed practically only environmental problems, the 1 billion tree tsunami at that time in KP, and I read, of course, the negative reaction on the 1 billion tree tsunami. So what I did, I asked in Peshawar, the Ministry of Forestry, to show me the places of where the trees are planted, because many in the government here are also said this is not true and it doesn't exist. And
So
I
many
selected
stories.
myself. I selected myself on the internet the 3 places I would love to see. The Minister of Forestry said, okay, go there. And I had a beautiful day going around. And these kind of things, I think it's important to take care of environment, and this is not a national problem. It is a regional problem, and it's a global problem because climate change is underway and every nation has to be prepared.
And that's what I wanted to ask you, Mr. Cobbler, that you just shed a little light on your private editorial line. What is that term? Because I have never heard of it. Is there any different diplomatic line that has been that is being given to every diplomat who's being posted out to other countries, and what is this private editorial line? I think for the consumption of our Pakistani viewers, they would like to know, because you are till now, I think he's the only few, maybe only or one of few very active diplomats in Pakistan who are opting out to discuss the other issues that are not pertinent to their diplomatic line. So do you have 2 different parallel lines going on right now?
I mean, I wouldn't call it 2 different parallel lines, but there are things you discuss with your government, with the government in private. Now, you do not put everything on social media. I mean, I know some do it. Yeah, also presidents do it sometimes, not here in the country, somewhere else. So,
Presidents. And the P is quite common in Twitter right now.
Yes, so I think not everybody has to display it on Twitter. There are some things, you see, I discuss in private with your government. Now, the normal bilateral things are done in private.
Exactly.
I do not disclose it on Twitter. I think this would not be fair. There must be a degree of confidentiality, of diplomatic professionality, that there's a confidence that things might remain confidential, and this I do not display. Now, what I display, these are the things I do when I travel, for example.
It's consented,
right? And also sometimes things where I think there is room for improvement. You can see tweets, for example, where the other day in Lahore, in Afghan Basti, with the Afghan refugees who are involved in the solid waste disposal, separating, also a green topic, separating the solid waste. I mean, a lot of plastic go to the sea. So you can see me standing in the middle of plastics and asking, isn't it the time now to reduce the amount of plastic in the country? I would do this in any country. I do it in particular in Germany. It's the example of many African countries, you see, and they also already prohibited plastic bottles or plastic bags. in the year 2050, there will be more plastic items in the oceans than fish.
Exactly.
Now, in order to prevent it, you have to start today.
Exactly.
Now, this is one thing, but most of the social media outreach I have is really, I must say, about the beauties of your country and of the people. There are two major impressions I have after a little bit more than a year. This is first, the warmth and the hospitality of the Pakistani people, and this comes from the heart, and this I put actively on Twitter. And the second one is the beauty of the landscape.
Mr.
I mean,
Qabaili,
there's such a beautiful landscape you cannot imagine. And
Exactly,
this
exactly.
I really try to help you to promote it.
Exactly, and I would definitely like to mention over here that the people of Pakistan, that is one particular thing that you do. They appreciate that more than anything else, and that's what they're noticing about you as well. That's how you have a very positive following on social media as well, because you're trying really hard on a personal level to promote this image, and the people of our country are appreciating that more than anything else. That is where, you know, our habits come in as well. We like drawing comparisons with people in different parts of the world and to people in different other countries as well, especially our neighboring country. So whenever somebody comes over here, especially a foreigner, and instantly draws a comparison with your neighboring countries and the people over there and makes you seem like better in things, then all of a sudden we have a very feel-good thing going on inside, and we're really proud of ourselves, especially when a foreigner comes, especially when a foreign diplomat like you comes over and talks good about our country in such high regard. So in that case, I would like to ask you a question. Did you have this particular approach in all the other countries that you had visited, which had a lot of conflict areas as well? So did you have the same approach, or was it just particularly when you came to Pakistan, you decided to, you know, go about things this way?
Well, when I came to Pakistan, I had experience before in Afghanistan, and in former times I also was in India. I know India well, I know Afghanistan pretty well, because I've been working there way back in 2010 and 11. So when I was offered the job as a German ambassador here in Pakistan, I said immediately yes, even without asking my wife.
Had you been to Pakistan before that?
Yes.
Even without asking my wife.
I was in Pakistan before this. When I was young, I was traveling by bus. From Lahore to Karachi.
Okay.
So, and I had very pleasant memories about Pakistan, and many of those I know back in Germany who were traveling there in the 70s, let's say. Where there were even buses going from German cities, Heidelberg to Karachi, and from there and to Lahore and on to India and to Kathmandu. So you could hire a bus. Not hire a bus, but join a bus tour from a German city to Kathmandu, passing here Afghanistan, now Pakistan. And they, by the way, left the Foxes here. Because they sold it in order to finance their onward trip. And the other day I bought one of those Foxes even. Left over from the time. It's a Foxy of 1964, and I applied some truck art on it.
Oh yes, and that was there on your Twitter as well.
And this is also something, you see, I like your truck art, because this is an expression of, well, how the Pakistani mind is, you see. This art you apply to trucks, to buses, to cars, without any, you do not know why.
It's telling stories through the pictures, and it's got poetry on it.
There is no financial added value to it. On the contrary, it costs money. But anyhow, a truck driver who has to make money, they are putting this truck art on the trucks just to be pleased and just to
get that job satisfaction
and this job satisfaction. Now this I admire very much. Now that's why travel, to go a little bit into the minds of the Pakistanis, to feel the hospitality, to feel the warmth of the Pakistanis. This is something I enjoy very much.
All right. So on a diplomatic level, in your own country, you were also representing. You had responsibilities of cultural exchange as well, and the cultural activities within Germany as well. So you know the people of Germany and their mindset very well, obviously, because you're from there, and you would know how much interest they have in their own culture. Let's talk about a few commonalities. Other than the fact that we're wearing similar ties, I'm sure we have more commonalities as well, a lot more in common as well. You've seen Pakistani people in different parts of the country. You've visited those places as well. You've traveled a lot. So if you talk about the mindset and the psychology, Do you find things in common with people back home, and do you find a few things in common where everybody can meet on one table and find common grounds? Are there things like that as well?
Well, there are things like you see the importance you attach, for example, on food. Also in poorer areas, there is always a hospitality and food. You attach a lot of importance on food. The Germans do it same. I have seen in your studio, you also do cooking. Kind of
food is the primary part of hospitality. I mean, that's where it starts.
Yes, it's the primary part of hospitality. That's how it starts. And this is a similarity. The second similarity I see, this is the eagerness, I mean, to understand the other one. Wherever I am, I'm asked about Germany. Now, how are things with you there, and how is the street system, how is your food, and whatever.
There's a curiosity in that.
Yes, a curiosity, and this curiosity you find also in Germany. When you come to Berlin or to any other city, or you get into a family, you find also this curiosity. We have now many refugees in Germany. This is not without problems, but the positive side of it is that they are partly absorbed by families. There are many volunteers. People sometimes do not know because of the many negative reports on the many refugees in Germany. But there is an army of volunteers reaching out to the refugees and just taking them into their families and asking them exactly the same question. They are cooking together and they are celebrating that together. I think
speaking of refugees, Sumera, I believe there's a very, very pertinent question which would arise when we talk about our own refugee problem.
The Afghan refugees.
Did you get any chance? Because I was going through all the pictures you posted on Twitter. You took to social media once when you made pretty, I would say, with warmth. You put in, you created an acquaintance with a roadside barber, and it was highly appreciated across Pakistan. And I think reading those comments and replies to your tweets on that picture, I saw a Pakhtun addressing you, and he said that we would welcome you if you ever decide to travel to Khyber Pakhtoonkhwa, and I'm ready to take you everywhere. So that was kind of a love being shown by the Pakistani people to you. But there is an issue. When we come to Khyber Pakhtoonkhwa, there is, I would say it's a large community which is called Afghan refugees, and we have been hosting them for last more than 30 years now. And the situation which has arisen due to their stay in Pakistan, it has so many aspects that if we go into detail to discuss those issues, I think we'll take other two more programs to get into the detail. But very quickly, I would need your take on that, that Afghan refugees are a sort of help for Pakistan's economy, or Pakistan should get, I would not use the word get rid of the Afghan community, but the time is kind of, it's a juncture of time for Pakistan as well, that we are going through a tough time in economic terms as well. So what should be the future of Afghan refugees in Pakistan? What do you see? And this is pertinent to your private editorial line.
Well, this is of course up to the government about how to deal with the question of refugees. But let me say first of all, where a similarity, as you mentioned, where everybody in Europe says there are too many refugees there, I always point to,
in millions,
other countries like Pakistan, but also in Africa like Uganda, where there are hundreds of thousands of South Sudanese refugees, and you have the burden of Afghan refugees since '79. I mean, more than 30 years they have been here now. We support many programs for voluntary repatriation of Afghan refugees. Whoever wants to go back to the country, I mean, should get the chance to go back to the country.
In connection with Saffron.
Yes, those who, of course, Saffron is our main partner here. So we are financing these repatriation programs together with you, and I was in Azakil the other day. It's on the way to Peshawar, where there is a repatriation center. I had to close it. You see, I'm very much interested in details, not in these big political talks. When speaking to refugees and voluntary repatriation, I want to see on the spot how it works. Biometrics, how is it done? And I found a great cooperation between Afghan government officials, Pakistani government officials in Azakil to bring them back on a voluntary basis. However, there are also those who were born here. Yeah, and you see them everywhere, not only in KP. Lahore, I mentioned already, Afghan Basti, many, even Karachi and other places, Balochistan, everywhere.
And you've been meeting them.
Yeah. Now, those of you who cannot return, who do not want to return, they should have a decent living in your country. What you are doing then with them, whether you give them registration cards or whatever, I followed the discussion of what your Prime Minister recently said in Karachi.
Are you happy with that statement?
Well, I do not comment.
What's your personal take on that?
You see, this is up to really up to a country what they do.
And you have been serving as UN envoy as well, and it's a huge responsibility being a United Nations envoy, regardless of your destination and your host country. K1, if we connect that refugee issue with your appointment being UN envoy, what do you see? Pakistan has rendered a lot to serve that refugees community, but still we do not see any kind of positive outcome from the international community globally. Even on the platform of United Nations, we see statements, rhetoric statements, but there is no serious appreciation for Pakistan. In fact, UNHCR is also cutting down on its annual budget for that it has been rendering and promising with Pakistan that will render this certain amount, but it was not fulfilled for last almost 15 years, according to the data. What should be the repatriation if they don't want to go back, they want to live here? What should be the support for Pakistan's economy? UNHCR should fulfill its promises. What is UN's take on that? How UN looks at that issue? Because Pakistan, once again, I'll reiterate, Pakistan also has its own issues.
Well, first of all, referring to the UN, there are UN standards. UN standards of the Refugee Convention. Now, I know that Pakistan is not a signatory to it, but in substance,
exactly.
you see, I mean, Pakistan is on the same line. I think every person, refugees or non-refugees, but in particular refugees who lead a difficult life, they have to be treated in dignity and respect.
No doubt.
This is the principle. This has to be fulfilled by everybody. Now, how is this done in practical terms? To treat somebody in dignity, in respect, this is up to the countries with the assistance of the international community. Respecting international standards, but now comes the main point. There are root causes to refugees.
Exactly.
And it is very important, this is only we are discussing the surface, what to do with Afghan refugees, whether to repatriate them voluntarily or giving them a chance to live here. This is up to every state how to deal with it. However, it is very important to create regional stability and address the root causes. And the root causes is the still ongoing conflict in Afghanistan, which has this spillover to Pakistan, and I think this is something you have to, one has to address.
And I think the disturbed bilateral relationship is also fueling that issue. It's not helping it out.
Yeah.
It's not, you see, I'm coming from the UN, and you addressed me now not as ambassador, but with my UN former UN hat. So I have a multiple identity here. Yeah, I think it's very important to dialogue without conditions here. Yeah, and to sit together.
If you don't mind me inserting something in between all this, is the role of media as well. Because you would have noticed that the role of not just social media,
Indeed.
but electronic media is pretty dominant in Pakistan, sometimes a bit too much, more than the government. Because the media tends to give, especially the mainstream big channels, tends to give statements before the government even thinks about it.
Exactly.
And they're a bit too trigger friendly in that regard. So you've seen the media over here in different other countries as well, and conflict-struck countries as well. Is our media showing responsibility from a neutral perspective, or is there more to be desired, or is it adding to the information or awareness of the people, or is it just creating panic regarding everything that is going wrong in our country?
First of all, I enjoy the freedom of the media here and the vibrancy. I mean, this is really great. How media work, we have seen some limitations during the elections. Yeah. But in principle, the way media work here, I appreciate it very much. Now, but when it comes now to the media line, it goes this way or that way. Media can play a positive role, but media, also social media, also can be, as you say, too trigger happy and follow a line which are inciting and and fueling a conflict and not reducing the tensions. Now, and that's very important. It's the self-responsibility of every TV station, if I might say, and of every radio and every newspaper outlet here to have a responsible policy towards creating peace and prosperity for the people and regional stability. I think it's important not to fuel it. My last posting with the UN was Libya.
You still remember that?
Yes, and every warlord in Libya had a TV station like this one, and they used it for their purpose.
Same goes for Afghanistan.
You see, same goes for Afghanistan. So the media are very important, and here comes one point: first of all, the editorial line of those who own TV stations. There should be a code of conduct.
Yeah, a very strict one.
A strict one. What not to do.
Exactly.
Yeah, and the rest you do.
Yeah.
To be free, but what not to do. And the incitement and for hatred. I mean, this is something which is not acceptable. It's not a responsible behavior. Second point: the training of journalists. I think this is something I've seen in many countries. This is suboptimal. Yeah, I mean, there should be a training of journalists, teaching them. I'm very often at universities in the media faculties, and I appreciate very much the interaction with the students there, who are then the presenters of the future.
Yeah.
I think that it is in their minds an automatism to respect the rules of the code of conduct.
Exactly.
This is, I think, quite important. Now, if you have an editorial line and you have your responsible journalists who use their freedom, yes, but who have certain red lines of the code of
they don't take it for granted.
Following that.
Well, indeed, but this is something I think which is very important, and it's, I mean, those who own the media, be it the state, be it private, they really have to insist on the proper behavior of their own journalists.
Indeed. अच्छा नाज़रीन, हम इस वक्त इन कॉन्वर्सेशन है मार्टिन कॉबलर के साथ, जर्मन एम्बेसडर टू पाकिस्तान, एंड बहुत से एजेंडाज हम कवर कर रहे हैं, एंड फोकस बिल्कुल हम कर रहे हैं अपने एरियाज़ के ऊपर जो खैबर न्यूज़ और K2 जिनको कवर करता है, जिनको रिप्रेजेंट करता है पाकिस्तानी अवाम, बेशक वो पाकिस्तान के अंदर हो या पाकिस्तान से बाहर। लेकिन इस वक्त एक वक्फे का जी टाइम आ गया है, एक छोटा सा वक्फा लेते हैं, वक्फे से वापस आते हैं, कुछ और चुपते सवाल भी पूछते हैं, क्योंकि मार्टिन कॉबलर साहब जिस तरीके से साथ जवाबात दे रहे हैं और जिस कॉन्फिडेंस के साथ दे रहे हैं, तो मुझे तो लगता है कि सुमेरा और मैं काफ़ी और सवालात अभी भी पूछ सकते हैं और डीप जा सकते हैं। लेकिन ये सब कुछ होगा एक छोटी सी ब्रेक के बाद। आप लोग हमारे साथ रहिएगा, विल बी राइट बैक। कतुनको तास्त प्रोग्राम के ज़ले बिया हर कले वायु प्रोग्राम के मुंगसरा खगले जर्मन एम्बेसडर मार्टिन कॉबलर सर जमुंगा खबर अतरे रवानी थी और द खैबर पख्तूनख्वा पे हकला जिसुमरा खबर अतरे मुंगा तपूस कोल शो अगा मुंगा ओम करे नोरे बहुम को और केवान उस दिन अपस द मीडिया एथिक्स पे हवाला और द मीडिया रोल कम चे बायलेटरल द दो
ملکونو په منځ کې تعلقات لپاره د میډیا رول څومره اهم وي. مونږ د افغانستان په هکله خبره کوله او د هغوی ریفیوجیز نه مونږ د خبرې دې اړې ته راغلو. نو زه وایم چې کیوان د خبره اوس مخکې ته بوځي.
جی coming over directly to you, since we're going towards the last part of the program, we're talking about the responsibility of the media, the ethics of media, the lack of ethics in our media as well, because we need to do a lot of self-reflection when it comes to our own mistakes as well, because we're representing the entire nation, we're representing a region, and we're trying to do good for them. But if we're not showing our own responsibility, then we would probably do worse than what we're supposed to do. So coming towards that, I would like to focus on the things that our network is trying to do, because we're catering to a very sensitive region, starting from Gilgit, then we have Kashmir, then we've got the Fata region, the Qabaili, and KP in general. So the people of those areas, you've visited a few places in these areas as well, which we call the northern part of the country. So the ethnic differences, I would say not the differences, but the variety in the ethnicities in all those areas have usually created a lot of problems and conflicts within our country, whereas it should have created a lot of things to be proud of. It should have created this attraction for tourism. It should have been a cultural selling point, but it actually went in the other direction. As a neutral party, what do you think is the core reason behind these psychological conflicts?
Well, I think there are, of course, underlying problems, but let's speak about the solution of it. And there is a theory of psychologists who say that every person has multiple identities. Now, and this helps a lot to bring people towards tolerance towards each other. For example, you are a Pashtun, you are a man, you are a family father, you are a Muslim, be it Sunni, be it Shia. So everybody, you are a cricket fan or a polo fan, so every smoker or non-smoker. So everybody combines in one person multiple identities, and all of you are Pakistanis. All of you are Pakistanis. Be you men or women, be you polo fans or cricket fans, smokers or non-smokers, you are all Pakistanis. Or be you Pashtuns or others or Kashmiris. Now, and this I think is a solution to the problem, you see, that everybody recognizes that the other one is different, and you just have to
you celebrate that difference.
Pardon?
Celebrating that difference is the basic concept, right?
You see, you just admit the difference. There are those who say, we are all Pakistanis, we do not have difference. This is not an honest approach.
Denial,
Of course, one is different. For example, in Germany, we are very tribal also in Germany. I'm belonging to a tribe called the Swabians, in South, like the Bavarians, you see.
Bavarians.
They have a very strong nationality, but they are all Germans. So we are joking with each other.
I think we definitely have more in common. Once again, let's mention the tie. I think it started with the tie, but we have a lot more in common on that level as well. And we do take a lot of pride in that warrior, barbarian background as well.
But it's good. I mean, to
but at the end of the day, you have to acknowledge that you are from one nation. You are Pakistani,
and you are
German.
You are one.
So
and what is the common aim? The common aim is peace and prosperity and stability in the country. And everybody wants to have a decent life in prosperity, wants to have a family, wants to have children, wants to have a good education for the children, and by fighting each other, it doesn't work. You just admit the difference and you agree that you are all part of Pakistan and you are all proud Pakistanis working for the benefit of the country.
I believe that the fact that the difference is creating conflict is because of our own insecurities. Because I see a lot of insecurity within our country in different regions, sensitive regions for that matter. It is that insecurity which makes us believe if the other person is different from us, he's probably against us. And that whole psychology is, needs to be pulled out from the root, because we've gone through a lot of turmoil, we've seen a lot of hardships as well. So that sort of makes it permanent as well. That's just my own opinion. Coming back to this particular program, have you ever been a part of an interview where we have conducted the interview in 3 different languages, the multilingual element of it?
I think this is great.
And yet again, I'm
English
coming back to Khyber
Pakhtoonkhwa here together. But this is also part of what we discussed, a multilingual approach and a multiple identity. So this goes together. Now we are 3 coming from 3 different languages here around the table, and we get along with each other without neglecting our differences. You see, I'm not a Muslim. I'm belonging to another region. So, but why should they separate us? Yeah. So, I mean, this is I think important to come together here.
Definitely.
Okay, I think the one major question that arises in everybody's mind, that what are the main bilateral projects from the German government, keeping in view the fragile condition of Khyber Pakhtoonkhwa in particular, because it has been serving as frontline state for over almost a decade. What is what's specially on the cards of German government and you being their representative in Pakistan? What do you have in mind for the Khyber Pakhtoonkhwa province in specific and rest of the Pakistan in general?
Now, because Khyber Pakhtoonkhwa has special challenges, as you mentioned, KP always was a focus of our cooperation. Last week I was in Peshawar again. I talked to your new team, so to say, of ministers in Peshawar, and I was really thrilled by the spirit and by the commitment they have. Now, our German cooperation always concentrated also in Khyber Pakhtoonkhwa, in particular in the field of small hydropower, of decentralized power generation, because electricity is life. I have seen many villages, you see, in Gilgit-Baltistan and in KP.
Still in
I mean, still without electricity. So small hydropower is one of the topics. The other one is the health system. So the health card you have in KP, this was developed by the government together with KfW. It's a German implementing agency.
That's Sehat card, which is quite popular.
Yeah, the health card, the insurance system. Now, education and health. This was our, plus the third pillar is climate. We always had climate programs here. Climate change is the single biggest challenge of this country long term. Medium term, it's education. Your country will have 400 million inhabitants in the year 2050. If you want to cope with 400 million and 66% are below the age of 13.
You have to start drafting
you have to
right
start
now. Exactly.
I mean, you see, to do big plans and to wait another 5 years, you see, and then start, yes, this is coming, we see this is a challenge, these are words. No, action is required today.
Exactly.
This is not only my message here in Pakistan, it's also in Germany. The long-term thinking to be prepared for what is happening 2050. And this is climate change. This is 2, 3, maybe 3 degrees more of climate. Imagine what this means for tribal conflicts, for migration, for inundations, for erosion. Yeah, I mean, this is something which is coming up. Very important. We are working on this. Health, education, and climate change effects as single most important topics with the government of KP.
Yeah.
And I must say, the line of the new government, you see, is exactly
that's
this.
important.
But we have been doing this with KP for quite some time.
But do you want to ask?
We're talking about the long-term plans and the necessity of the long-term plans as well, because in long term we'll be facing the problems on a much larger scale as well. But let's talk about the short-term emergency protocols that the government has to take, and they have ended up, making a few mistakes as well, because everything was done in quite a hurry and everything needed to be done since we're going through a bit of an economic crisis as well. So this particular austerity drive came in, and then we've also seen a lot of countries in Europe go through their own austerity drive, and we seek examples from there. That is where this government actually got inspired and went about the austerity drive. But our local version of austerity drive has actually seen a lot of negative feedback. So from a neutral perspective, once again,
how do you weigh that?
How do you weigh all of that? Because that has been criticized more than anything else, because the government had actually created a very large hype regarding what they were doing. Do you see it working? Do you see this is the right direction? Because these are emergency protocols. This needs to be fixed before anything else can be addressed. Do you agree?
Now, first of all, let me say that the government formation process was pretty smooth compared to also the government formation process in Germany after the last elections, which took 6 months. I mean, I'm really astonished by the smoothness of the government formation. Now,
and over here, a lot of people on media criticize the smoothness.
And in the same program, we had discussed that.
I don't think you would like to comment on that.
You see, Belgium did not have a government for 350 days.
Yeah.
We did not have a new government for 6 months. Now, you established, or your prime minister established a government. Yes, there were still some vacancies, these are filled.
Yep.
And of course the beginning of every government, if you have such a sea change, this is accompanied by a certain amount, I wouldn't say chaos, but learning curve. I myself, by the way, was involved in the government formation when the conservative government changed to a red-green government, where the Greens came for the first time in the government. I can say there was chaos in the German government if you have such a
lot of expectations as well.
The second thing is the expectation management. If you have such a new government with a clear program, with a 100 days program, you create expectations. Now, the government has a lot on their agenda costing money.
Yep.
Exactly.
This is education, this is health for all, education for all, bringing 22 million children out of school into the schooling system. This all costs money. 10 billion trees, to plant 10 billion trees and 5 million houses, all this costs money. Now, this money has to be earned somehow. Now, the expenditure side is one thing, but the structural reforms, they are the other thing. And the expectation of the population, it's clear, it has to be managed. Now, and this is here, I mean, we observe this very closely. I think CPEC, I know that there are different opinions. I must say CPEC is an opportunity. It's also a challenge, but it's also an opportunity.
Exactly.
And to use CPEC as a game changer to bring private investment is, I mean, this is something which is, I think, very important. Now, I think the country has to be opened, in particular the CPEC one, if you want to have the income side for foreign investment. Yep. Not only Chinese investment now. And I've been fighting now for 1 year to have more German companies here, and I must say I'm not that successful. Because German investors, they say, well, why should we come to Pakistan and not to India? Because CPEC is there and all the contracts go to the Chinese. I say, well, we are fighting all for having transparency in CPEC, to open up the special economic zones to everybody who is competitive.
Every country.
Yeah. Now, I think for the income side, of course, there are all these measures which are now in the newspapers, like broadening the tax bases, like the structural reforms which were proposed by the International Monetary Fund. Whether you go to the fund or not, I mean, the ideas are on the table. The money one spends, it's like in a household.
Yep.
The money one spends has to be earned. You can make some debts, yes, if you build a house and you cannot finance it. I did it the same. I go to the bank and say, listen, I need X amount of money because I want to have this house. And the bank says, yes, you can have the money, but this is the repayment schedule, by the way. Yeah? We are not a charity organization here. Now, all the rupees you spend, you have to earn somehow. And I think opening up to the international business world is one of the points. And the second one is regional stability. Regional stability, reaching out. The trade, I mean, now between, let's say, the border areas and Afghanistan, but also on the other side with India. Only 5% of the trade is regional trade here in Pakistan. You only do 5% of the trade. The rest you do with the world. And I think it's just not enough. In Europe, you see most of the trade is done within Europe. And only 25% is outside, but 75% we are trading among ourselves. Yeah? Now, opening up also regionally, addressing what your government tries to do, the underlying problems in Afghanistan, in India, the Kashmir problem and everything. This is up to you to do it. But I think to create an international environment, a regional environment, conducive to peace, this will open up. This will create confidence and this will bring investors into the country. And then you earn the money you can spend on education, trees, climate change and health.
And what's the root cause? Kevan, we always wonder that why our activities, why our accomplishments, why our kind of even a single achievement does not get that kind of attraction, that kind of appreciation. Like I asked you a few minutes earlier, that why international community does not appreciate in a way that we are always looking forward to, that they should come back with the
exactly how the ambassador of Germany, Mr. Martin Kobler, is doing on a personal level. Why aren't people acknowledging that on an international forum?
Exactly.
Yeah. I
so
think
where does the fault line lies?
Yes, there is a big problem in the perception of Pakistan, which I already said is unfair.
Yep.
Now, that's what I'm doing on a personal level, as you say, to put the finger into that. If I go, you see, with a train, for example, from here to Lahore, yeah, this sends the signal that it's possible for a foreign ambassador to go by train from Rawalpindi to Lahore.
Yeah.
Or to go to a barber in Peshawar, my friend Mehran, if he's watching. Yeah, so I always go to a barber there and have a chat with him. Very important also to test the temperature, what he thinks about the government.
It was all conducive for you?
Yeah, and yes. Now I think it's very important to transmit this image, but this is not my task only. It is the you have an ambassador in Berlin also. Yeah?
That's what we want.
You see, the improvement of perception now, but also to transmit the feeling that you can do it. This I think is very important. Self-reliance, resilience. I'm very often asked, what can Germany do for? I say, ask first of all, what can you do yourself for you? You determine your priorities, and then you ask us. If you need solar technology, you see, because you say you can do it, then we can help you. But identify your interests, spend more money on education, more money on research and development. And I do not see why a country like Pakistan, who managed, and in the last 5 years, to add 11,000 megawatts to the grid, why they cannot say we develop solar energy here to a large extent, and we go to renewables and we go away from the traditional, but we also develop technologies. And we do not spend, if you have turbines, for example, most of them are imported from other countries. Because I asked, why can't you develop your own small hydro turbines? Yeah, well, because the ones from abroad, they are more energy efficient. I say, do not tell me. I mean, a country with a policy decision who can add 11,000 megawatt to the grid within 5 years is also in a position to develop a turbine, to do more. Now, this is you see, to ask yourself first, the self-reliance.
And this is the point we have been fighting over the last few weeks, that in the same program, Third Angle, we always discuss the policies of government, and we take public calls in that program as well, and everyone is always seeking the point that where does the actual fault line lies, why we are unable to create an impression on the basis of our accomplishments.
Exactly, and that's where your point lies, where we've taken one initiative, then why do we stop there? There's a lot more that needs to be done.
Exactly.
There's a lot more that can be done, so why do we have to stop and be satisfied with the first step that we've taken, and we just start basking in the sun out of pride that look what we did and we're pretty good with that, thank you very much. The problem, it can be, you know, dealt with the next government who's going to come afterwards. So we're not going to help each other. So we've done our work, we've got an election campaign running, and maybe we're set for the next 5 years. And when the next government comes, oh, this is your problem now. How are you going to solve it?
You see, you have such a vibrant young population. I was in the National Incubation Center the other day here. I mean, it's enormous. I mean, there's many men and women sitting there developing apps and whatever you see in an incubation center.
The whole concept of entrepreneurship and startups and everything, it's really kicking in.
This is a chance, and keep these people in the country and have others. And I hear many are coming back now because they feel that there is a wind of change in the country. This is your potential. But there should be possibilities for the young people in particular here to have chances. Now, expectations are running very high, and not all expectations can be fulfilled, but I see the perspectives very positive.
But then again, there's a lot of forgivingness in our people now as well, especially in this government's case. A lot of people are giving them a lot of time and very forgiving regarding their, I would say, blunders.
Everybody's trying to help them.
Yeah, everybody's like, okay, we give you more time. Oh, it's okay, you committed this blunder, it's all right. Let's put it under the carpet. So a lot of people are speaking for the government, which is a good change. change, because they are giving them time, they're showing some patience as well, which is a huge change within our youth as well, because the youth was very, like we said, that trigger happy on social media, and they were like bashing the previous government, like even for breathing in a certain way.
And the kind of public calls we are receiving in our programs, they are
defending the government.
They defend, not only defending government, but one person was asking K1 to create a line, help me help me establish a contact with Prime Minister Imran Khan. I want to present him my recommendations for the, I think the renewable energy, for a kind of project.
So there are a lot of people on a personal level, on an entrepreneurial level, are trying to help, are trying to give in their talent and their aptitude in whatever skill set that they have. They're trying to help the government, which is a very good change that you just mentioned yourself. And tourism is one thing which we can do an entire different program on a different day. But we have to wind up the show, sir. It was definitely a pleasure and an honor to have you in our studios. We talked about so many things. The producer was constantly telling me to wind up, and I was just completely ignoring it because we were like talking about some very integral issues, and at the same time you were explaining them so well. You were adding a lot of information and awareness not just to the viewers but to us as well, and we'd like to carry this forward in our upcoming episodes. And it was once again a pleasure to have you over, and we'd love to see you again in AVT channels as social activities that you're into and all those things that you're doing. And I think a lot more people are going to be following you after today as well, if not just from this center, but the viewers as well. Once again, thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me here. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you. जी नाज़रीन, आप लोगों का बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया आज का थर्ड एंगल का एक्सक्लूसिव एपिसोड देखने के लिए। हमारे प्रोग्राम के अंदर आज मौजूद थे मिस्टर मार्टिन कॉबलर, द जर्मन एम्बेसडर टू पाकिस्तान, और उनसे हमने कोशिश की कि मुल्की मसाइल से लेके, गवर्नमेंट से लेके, टूरिज़म से लेके, रेफ्यूजीज से लेके हर टॉपिक आज हम छेड़ें। और मज़े की बात यह कि उनके पास हर टॉपिक का कोई ना कोई एक जवाब भी था और काफ़ी चीज़ों के सॉल्यूशंस भी पेश थे। तो इनकी जो अवेयरनेस थी इन चीज़ों के हवाले से हमें इस इंटरव्यू के अंदर पता भी चली, और काफ़ी ऐसी चीज़ें हैं जो हम अपने ऊपर भी अपना सकते हैं। एंड फ्रॉम ए न्यूट्रल पर्सपेक्टिव, जैसे कि हमें अच्छा भी लगता है जब बाहर से कोई आके बताता है कि क्या क्या चीज़ें अच्छी हैं और क्या क्या बुरी हैं, तो हम बहुत जल्दी यकीन भी करते हैं। तो हमें इन चीज़ों पर बिल्कुल गौर व फिक्र करने की ज़रूरत है। नाज़रीन, K2 न्यूज़ के नाज़रीन को मैं यहाँ से खुदाफिज़ कहूँगा, और ऑब्वियसली जो खैबर न्यूज़ के नाज़रीन हैं उनने भी इस प्रोग्राम के अंदर बहुत कुछ अपने मुतालिक और अपने मसले मसाइल से मुतालिक सीखा होगा और जाना होगा। तो सुमेरा, उनके लिए क्या पैगाम है आखिर?
जी, कतन को तासुन बहुम उस इजाज़त अखलू मुंगा प्रोग्राम थर्ड एंगल ना नन थर्ड एंगल खुसूसी प्रोग्राम बतासु यकीनन कतली मुंगसरा प्रोग्राम के शामिल वो खागले सफ़ीर द जर्मनी मार्टिन कॉबलर साहब और अगुना बहुम मुंगा उस रुखसत वाड़ू ये उम्मीद लरू हिला लरू چې تاسو به پروګرام خوښ کړی او د هغوی خبرې اترې څومره چې دي د پاکستان په حواله او هغه به هم ستاسو خوښ شوي. مونږ هم ترنه ډېر څه زده کړل او کوشش به کوو چې دغه شانتې د بلو هیوادونو چې کوم سفیرونه چې کوم د هغوی امبیسډرز دي هغوی د AVT چینل سره دغه شانتې نور هم پروګرامز مونږ تاسو لپاره وړاندې کوو. تاسو نه به اجازت غواړو. الله پامان، پاکستان پاینده باد.